All right, Huckleberry here with the latest installment of Last One to Katahdin Wins. Thru Hike the Appalachian Trail when you're old enough to know better. My story began, like so many others, at Springer Mountain at the end of March of 2022. I was feeling pretty good, man. I was ready to roll. Only 5 million steps left. By God, I was ready. At the middle point, actually a little bit past midpoint in Pennsylvania, I was at my peak. I mean, look at that guy. I mean, do they even resemble each other? Man, I was fit. I was hale. I was ready. I had it in the bag. Now, at Mount Katahdin, I looked pretty good and I felt pretty good. I mean, I was on the top of Mount Katahdin and it was a hard climb just up Mount Katahdin. But you know what? I was a little broken because just a month before I had fallen at Speck Pond on my first full day in Maine. I broke a rib, I punctured a lung. And even though I hiked out 5 miles to the road and the trailhead, I spent 2 weeks recuperating after getting a chest tube in the emergency room before I got back on the trail. That was my story. You want to read the story? You want to know the whole story? Well, it turns out you could read my book because I created a book that tells my story. And I want you to do the same thing. I want you to publish yourself. And I'm going to tell you how to do it. That's the whole point of today's episode, is how to publish yourself. And I'm not even kidding. I want you to write a book. And there's a lot of ways you can do it, a lot of different forms that book can take. But I'm here today to explain to you how to do it. And my premise is if I can do it, you can do it. I believe that's true because I found it to be not that hard to do. Now, my first book, I self-published using a company called Blurb. I published this book on my 1978 trip down the Mississippi River, 2,552 miles. My partner, Chuck Pease, and I referred to each other as Chuck Finn and Huckleberry Godfrey. And when I told people on the AT about this trip, folks said, just like Huckleberry Finn. And so I became Huckleberry Men. Then I also made a book about a coffee table photographic book about just a family vacation in Poland. But boy, it looked really professional. Hardcover, man, just beautiful. So years later, then I discovered Lulu, and I produced a whole bunch of different books and booklets on Lulu, including the paperback, Last One to Katahdin Wins, my story of the Appalachian Trail, the digital version of that book as well, which is in a PDF format that can be read on any digital device that you can view a PDF. And it looks really good too. It's only $5 as well. And then I also made a book about hiking the Superior Hiking Trail, 300 miles. It was my trainer trip in the fall of 2021 for hiking the Appalachian Trail. I did it. You can do it. We can do it. We can produce these books. And even if nobody sees them but us, it's still quite an accomplishment akin to the adventure of hiking the Appalachian Trail. Now, here's the book cover from The Adventures of Chuck Finn and Huckleberry Godfrey. You notice it's from 1978, and it wasn't published until 2008. 30 years after the trip, I rediscovered my journals. I typed them up. I made this book. It's 180 pages that tells the story. I think it's fantastic. You might not think so, but to me, wow, man, priceless. Absolutely priceless. Then here's a Superior Hiking Trail Thru Hike, about hiking the Superior Hiking Trail. And look, that's the cover, the actual cover from the book. And here's the cover from the digital version of Last One to Katahdin Wins. Look how professional these look, especially those last two, man, they really look good. The tools that these outfits have got for you are really amazing. They're very powerful, and they'll give you good results, and it won't cost you a dime. I mean, honestly, it's virtually free. So why should you do it? Well, my answer to that really is why not? And why'd you hike the Appalachian Trail? Well, why not? Because you could. You have the ability. And I think you should tell your story too. You should document your story. So you have an artifact You have a souvenir you can hand down. Your great-grandchildren, great-great-grandchildren might read it. You can document this trip so that as your own memory fails, as the days and weeks and months go by, you ask yourself, did that really happen? Did I really do that? You can crack that book open. You can relive it. So tell your tale. That's my advice, because it really feels cool when you hold in your hands that document. When I'm holding Laughs When the Katahdin Wins, man, is that a great feeling. It really is. So tell your tale, and it really is cheap. You only pay when you buy a book. So I went through the whole process to produce my book. It didn't cost me a penny till I bought a copy, and that cost me $16. The price has gone up to $18 now. That's all it cost me, right? So there's almost not an excuse to do it, except, it really does take some time. And you have to have something to work with. Do you have a written record? Did you keep a journal? Even if all the journal you kept was this campsite, this many miles, this town, this hostel, that sort of thing, you can use the time-stamped photographs to remind you of some details from those days. And also the videos that you took have your actual words. And so you can, if you want a written kind of a book, you probably have the resource to do that. You can also write from scratch, right? And maybe your photographs that you have can create a storyboard for you to do some writing just from scratch in the present time about that trip that you did. So at any rate, you can make this happen. And I really think that you should. I think you won't be sorry if you did. Now, if you want just a photo book, I mean, all the photographic digital sites, iPhotos, Google Photos, they have tools for creating a photo book, and there's no reason not to do that. You might want to, if you want to make a more professional document, though, you probably need a self-publishing site. If you Google this, there's just about 1 million of them, and it's easy to find about all the different sorts of documents that you can create, from hardcover books to coffee table books, digital books, and so on, right? And all the different sizes that they can come. Okay, so take a look at that. Now, what did Huckleberry do? Well, like I said, I tried Blurb. I've got experience with that. You download software. You need a decent computer to run that software on. I liked Lulu because all I had to do was use a word processor, and then they did all the processing in the cloud. And I discovered it's really a great company. It's in a small town in North Carolina. It's a cottage industry sort of a company, well worth supporting, especially since it's economical. It's not costly to do anyway. The results are great. Their support, their website is fantastic. And so if you want to support just a great company that's doing good things in a small town in North Carolina, man, Lulu is your choice. It sure was mine. Now, I looked into Amazon, and you can use Amazon, and you probably should if you want people to search Amazon, find your book, okay? But it's the empire, right? And you want to support the empire? I'm not sure that I do, if I have alternatives. They have a software you would download. So if you go to Amazon, you download their software, you work with it. I think at the end you just upload a PDF file anyway. And it might be, if you really want to make a true digital book that would run on Kindle, that's more than a PDF, and has searchable, flowable type stuff like that. This might be the way to go. You can do that on Lulu, and I did, but the results are not ready for prime time. So there's a lot of other options you look into. I'm going to talk about my experience on Lulu because it was very good. Okay, how does Lulu work? Well, if you go to Lulu's website, you find out in very short order that it's really easy to use. The information is just super well organized. In fact, you'll find out you can learn more about self-publishing than you really need to know. You can learn everything that there is. If you go to the Create pull-down menu, you can really quickly see what possibilities there are for the sorts of books that you can create. I made print books. I made ebooks. Those are my experiences. I've made a cookbook or yearbook. I don't know what a cookbook, template or format looks like. I made a whole bunch of different, actually, print books because I made a bunch of like campfire songbooks for different settings. So got a lot of experience with Lulu, and they've all been exceptionally good. And so I can recommend unequivocally Lulu. You won't lose any money. In fact, everything you produce is yours, right? All the documents you make just live on your computer, and you can use them any way you want. You know, Lulu doesn't own them, you do, right? So do your research. You're on the Lulu site, learn what you're doing, learn about formatting, choose what kind of book you're going to make. And then I think you want to download a template, which they have, because it'll set the margins and the page size and stuff for you, you know, that are appropriate to the size of book that you want to create. And I think that's a good way to go, because when you type right away, you're seeing it, you know, line up, you know, in that format and size. So that's the way I went, and I think that's a good way to go. You can always change those margins and things. You can cut and paste and move your text to a different page size if you want to do that later on. You just type in Word or Google Docs. I use Docs because I needed something transportable, and I did convert it to Word so that I could use Word's, you know, correcting tools, spell check and grammar tools. If you have Grammarly, you might find Grammarly useful. I'm pretty sure you would. And probably at this point, after you do this writing, you'll want to learn about formatting and stuff some more to see if you've got things right. Now, this is like really the brute work is in the typing, because in the typings and the writing, depending on how you're approaching this. You know, I had to read my handwriting that was made at night in a tent. It was not always easy to do. So there was a lot of brute work in creating the document. And then after that, you know, you're going to proof it, and then proof it and proof it and then proof it, right? To make sure that it makes sense, that your sentence structure is the way you want it, that your, you know, the tenses you want are consistent, all that kind of stuff. And it's hard to do that yourself because you're too close to the document. You're going to want to get help on the proofing at maybe more than one point in the process, okay? Now, maybe you're going to add photos. That's going to screw up all your formatting. You're going to have to go through again, you know, looking at where the photos fall in the right place. Do they add the story in the right way? Are they the right size? How does it affect where, you know, your page breaks are and where your sentences end and things like that? I have daily entries, and I made the choice to have every day start on a new page. Each entry is on a new page, and that often left blank space, which told me where I had room for pictures. And I partly used that as a constraint for selecting photos. That's what I did. And the results were pretty good. I mean, that was a good way to proceed. Then you make some decisions, page numbers, table of contents. You're going to create some new content, like an introduction or an epilogue. You're going to put captions on your photos. Those are decisions you have to make. And I would suggest doing that writing on a separate document. And once you have that where you want it, you can cut and paste it onto this, you know, big document that you've been developing. You might find out the document gets too big for Google Docs to handle easily. So you might have to break it into two pieces. I had to do that. Oh, wow, you got a proof again. Ain't that fun? Finally, you think you're done, but you're not. And it took me as long to write as it took me to hike. Write and hike in the same amount of time. I did both of them pretty slowly. I didn't even really have creative work to do because I was really mostly transcribing my notes, you know, fixing them up, maybe augmenting them with information I got from my photographs and from my videos and stuff. But it still took 6 months. A lot of that was picking pictures, placing the pictures, proofing everything. And if you wrote from scratch, I don't know if it would be faster or if it would take more time. I just don't know. And you have to try it and see. But, you know, one thing to keep in mind is it doesn't cost you anything but time. And this time is time well spent. Yeah, it's time well spent recalling and reliving, you know, the amazing gift of hiking the Appalachian Trail. And now you need to find other people to prove, friends, family. Man, it'd be great if you could have someone from your target audience proof your work. Man, I'd love to have been able to have a Appalachian Trail through hiker proof my document and say, wow, dude, this is weird. Man, you really complain a lot. Well, I was 65. Okay, man, it was hard on me. And well, anyway, there you have it. Find other people to work, people that are more objective, and try to find people that'll be honest. I had half a dozen people proofing, and only a couple of them are willing to say, hey, look, this doesn't make sense, man. You need to explain this. You can't just drop this with no explanation, or I don't get this jargon, or you keep mentioning the same thing over and over again. Only had a few people willing to do that. You need those people. That's why folks sometimes hire editors. And I'm pretty sure Lulu has that option. They will edit for you. I don't know what the fee structure is for that, but that's something you can do. Now you've got your document, put it in a PDF format, upload it. They're going to give you some feedback right away about your photos, whether they're big enough and so on and so forth. You can take their advice or not. You're going to make a cover, and they have excellent tools for creating a cover. And now you can publish it. You just hit that publish button, and then the waiting begins. You don't have to wait long, but it feels like you wait long for your copy to come. And once it comes and you hold it in your hand, you get to proof the damn thing again. Because now that it's in a finished format, I mean, you don't want to order 100 copies of this, right? Just before you realize that, oh my God, there's this giant goof in it that I couldn't see until it was on paper. So proof this new one, and I guarantee you're going to find changes that you want to make. You will find changes that you want to make. And now maybe you're ready to roll and ready to get some copies to give away. Okay. And now you ask me what's next, and this is going to sound self-serving, but I think you should get a copy of my book, or a book written by some other amateur, so you can see what is possible. And if you're a hiker, if you're watching this, you're either a hiker or a potential hiker, I think you'll find my story resonates, man. I don't think it's bad. I think it's pretty readable, and that you don't have to be a hiker to get it. And I don't think you'll be disappointed. And particularly if you buy the digital, it's only $5, right? You won't be disappointed. So the paperback is $18 now, and that printing cost goes up and down. And the shipping, of course, is probably going to vary also. I'm not getting rich. I guarantee you, I'm not getting rich. So if you go to Lulu and you search, for my name or for the title of these books, this is what you're going to see. And there's the digital form. There's the Superior hiking trail, the trail along the North Shore of Lake Superior. And here is the paperback copy of Last One in Catan to Win. So that's what you'll find if you go to Lulu and search. And I will, if I can figure out how to, I will put links in the comments section to these things, okay? So I hope that was enjoyable, and I hope it was inspiring. And I hope I get a message from you saying, all right, buddy, now you buy my book. Nothing would make me happier. Until then, all I can say is, this is Huckleberry. Happy trails.